Dafna, Charlene. Hey, congratulations on your new film, Relative Control.
Thank you, Gig. Thank you.
Yeah,
I know
we're excited.
after that film festival runs, it is always excited that finally the rest of the world get to see it digitally with you folks. But I'm going to throw the first question to Charlene. Where the original idea came from for Relative Control?
Well, from my own personal experiences, I was working as a lawyer and president of my firm, which is a commercial and corporate firm in Delaware. And my parents started to fail, and I was the only member of the family who was in the vicinity. And so the primary responsibility for taking care of them was mine. And the the relationship between my parents and me was changing. Their issues were demanding my attention. My own professional responsibilities were demanding my attention, and there were a whole range of emotions involved. Some of them were hysterically funny. Some of them were really uh, incredibly sad. Uh, and as I was going through this process, I thought this would be a really interesting story. And I thought to myself, I think that my generation is probably the first where a large number of women were working outside of the home and still having to take care of the needs of aging parents. And I realized that it wasn't just my story. I thought it was a story that applies to many people. And in fact, AARP suggests that more than 30 million people are in that position in this country. So I thought it was a story worth telling. And as I say, it's a dramedy, so it's both funny and sad.
Well said. Daphna, tell us how you boarded this project and you wanted to direct this film.
Well, Charlene sent me her script through and one of her writing teachers, because she went into her third act. Um, I knew one of her writing teachers, and we both taught at one of the universities. And he asked, he goes, "Would you like to meet somebody? Would you like to direct a narrative film and a feature?" And I'm like, "Okay." Well, I've been directing commercials and doc features my whole life, it feels like, but had not done a narrative feature. And Charlene sent me her script. And as she said, Charlene's just stated that so many people are going through this. And at that time, while I was reading her script, I had just started going through it. My mother had had a stroke. I related to the script so emotionally. And when we met for like 15 minutes. And then she said, "If you want to direct, you can direct it." And I was just thrilled because the script just touched on so many points from um, you know, your parents transitioning and trying to figure out who really does have control because you're still their children. And the characters, Sarah and her father in the movies, just have such a relationship where they're both A-type personalities. He's an ex-police chief, and you kind of know that right off the bat. And to see that transition and her trying to really take control at work is such an issue for us, as Charlene said, for most Americans, because it's really tough to take care of your parents and take care of work. And if you have children, take care of your kids, or if they're already, kind of finishing, starting their adult life and trying to go to work, it just becomes quite a mess. And I think Charlene wrote beautifully about that mess and, and how we get through it as families, as friends, as coworkers.
That brings up a good point, Charlene, because there's so many themes that were introduced in this film, ranging from family to elder care to even basically navigating that chaos of that life balancing act. So how did you manage to balance all these themes while writing the story?
I started writing the story 10 years ago when I decided to do it. I think my father had passed just earlier than that. And I took a course at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, which was a continuing education course on screenwriting. And I did that for probably 6 years just to keep on track. So I did that. I was still working at my firm and taking care of my mom. It was a balancing act. I'm now a Costco member because I was buying food for two households. I had a caregiver or caregiver in with her that was living with her 24 hours a day, that was a godsend. But managed somehow to get through it. Although I will say, for me personally, it took a physical toll. The characters' blood pressure rises in the film, and mine did too. Um, and it's a balancing act both physically and emotionally. And I've said before, and Daph and I've talked about it. You have to have a sense of humor to be able to get through it.
Very, very, very true. Dafna, what was your approach in, trying to balance her story in there, especially between drama and comedy, which is very difficult to balance and put it on screen on something like this?
Well, I think, luckily, in a weird way, luckily we had COVID. So Shirley got to work on that part of the comedy even a little bit more as we kind of read the script with other actors in the Philadelphia and Delaware area before COVID hit. And we recorded that. And then we also took a look at what would else add some comedy and some of those conversations about sort of those habits we develop with our parents. And those kind of habits become funny, whether it's the candy or what Joe's need with what Charlene wrote with Joe's her father's the Sarah's father's need to have new things and try to work with them, whether it's a chair or a scooter, and those become very comedic. Just as we have all jokes on the internet about seniors trying to use technology. So it becomes, that kind of balance. Charlene wrote a lot of that in there, and we tried to stick true. And we also gave the actors a chance to say, okay, this is what we're using, this mechanism to relate to that comedy. And, we had a short time to shoot the film as a 14 principal and 3, pickup days. And in that time, we kind of had one shot to, took two takes of each scene, and the actors would do it exactly as Charlene had written it, and then they'd do a second time and maybe do a little bit of improv, and that added a lot of the comedy to it. Especially Pat McDade, who plays the father. He was just hysterical, and some of the additions he did when roaming around on a scooter or deciding he was going to. There's a thing in the film where he's always giving his daughter Sarah, played by Teri Polo, the candies, and it's very funny the way it's his choice and the way he gives them to him, and always adds something that makes you kind of laugh. So the characters really, both actors, Teri Polo and Pat McDade, added a lot to that ability to
Yeah,
laugh.
I do find Joe to be a hilarious. Charlene, could you tell us why Joe is so accident prone? Where did you get the inspiration for that? Because I'm assuming no one in your family was that accident prone. You were just adding it for humor, right?
Uh, Actually, no. The two of the incidents are precisely what happened to my father. The first two. The third one is something that I conjured up in my mind that could very easily have happened to my father. He was quite accident prone. I wish I could say that I had invented them or created them, but no, they actually do track my experience with my father. And
And
yeah.
there's a scene which we love, I think, is the wheelchair scene, which Teri Polo maneuvers so well, or the character Sarah. And I think we all related to that. When my mother was tiny, Joe's a big guy, and that's what made the comedy, because Teri's smaller than than her father. And watching people maneuver when you have an ailing parent and you haven't really had to maneuver with wheelchairs and different things that you have to do and try to get somebody somewhere, it made it funny, and all of us had to deal with it, and so it was quite a conversation on set. We're like, well, how did you do it? How did you do it? When we were trying to figure out. Luckily, we actually had a set location where there wasn't handicapped doors, and it actually played into how we ended up doing the scene. Was we had a parking lot that had a steep hill, and it was perfect. It was like, well, I guess this works. We weren't even sure. We were trying to find these locations to kind of condense the days. The doctor's office happened to have the perfect parking lot.
I know the story of elder care is not it's not really been told too many times on
Mhm.
screen, and you managed to capture that perfectly, especially all the little incidents that could happen to honestly anyone's family.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
does, again,
Uh,
30 million
we-
people. Go ahead,
Yeah,
sir.
we've been fortunate, to be able to screen it at a couple of film festivals now, and the reaction of the audience has been pretty responsive. I mean, people really relate to it. There has a lot of resonance for so many people who have had this experience or anticipate having it or have gone through it. It's There's a little something in there for everyone, I think.
Yeah, and so many people walk up and go, "Oh my gosh, that's how I related to my sibling," or "I had that." We've had so many people in the screenings just relate to different parts of different characters in the film.
Now, I believe while watching the film, the character Terry's character is based in Delaware, and you said you were an attorney in Delaware. Was this film in Delaware? Because I think I heard Philadelphia was mentioned somewhere during this
Well,
conversation.
it
So
was filmed
close.
primarily in Delaware, but we did film a few of the scenes in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area. Uh, but Primarily it was filmed in Delaware because when I retired from my firm, part of my retirement package was promised that if I ever got this script made into a film, or I would be able to film in the law offices, public areas. So that was sort of the incentive for doing it there, aside from the fact that I live there. Uh, and Then we were really fortunate because so many other people gave us locations for free. So it helped with the budgetary issues too. And That's how, yeah,
The
that's
Low
where it
Cut
was.
Connie scene was, yeah, the Low Cut Connie scene was Philadelphia. It was a concert venue down in Philadelphia where we were so lucky enough to be permitted to film Low Cut Connie, which has three of their songs, and probably Charlene's favorite band. She turned us all on to Low Cut Connie, and we love them now. And we all actually a bunch of us are going down to Tennessee to see them in concert at the end of this month. So she's made a fan of so many of me and my friends, and then Joe's house was filmed right outside of Philadelphia.
You know what? It is pretty funny that that you put Low Cut Connie into the film because I actually recognize them because the fact that I'd actually spoke to them a few months ago. And it's funny is because they described as a very low key, band, but they're so popular in that region. And I'm from California, so no one has ever heard of Low Cut Connie over here. But in that area, the locals
Yes.
really, really do love that band. So
Yes, well, Rolling Stone has named him sort of a couple of years in a row now as the sort of today's rock and roll of the past band that and if you watch them perform which we have that clip, they're amazing when you to watch Adam get up on this on the piano. I just love, like I said, we're big fans up here.
yeah, they're very good on the piano. He's very good at the piano at playing the
Mhm.
piano. Very very good showmanship. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Now, to basically anchor this film, you found Teri Polo, to play. I mean, she had to carry this film quite literally from start to finish. Tell us about scoring her for this project because she's very supportive. She has a name, and she's a very good actress, especially for a part something like this where she showed her range of emotions from
Mhm.
humor to even displaying emotional tears in this film.
She's in every scene. I mean, I've just not even see. I don't remember seeing a film where someone for an hour and a half is in every single scene, and she is. It's amazing to me. You want to talk about
Yeah,
how we
we were
got her?
in some ways, although it was difficult to deal with, the pandemic was a blessing, I suppose, because we were casting prior to the pandemic, and Terry was not among those that we were approaching, and we were looking at other actresses. Following the pandemic, Diane Heary of Heary and Loftus, which is a casting company in Philadelphia that does a lot of casting for films that are shot in Philadelphia. She was on board, and she contacted Terry's agent along with others, and we Teri got the script and read it, and it had some resonance for her, and it also offered her a substantial role as a 50-some-year-old actress, which was really attractive to her. And I don't know that this played into the calculus, but she was born and raised through high school in Delaware, so
Hmm.
and has family living there at the time. So that's how we were fortunate enough. She and Dafna spoke on the phone for like an hour, and then she came to Delaware a couple of days before the shoot and got together with Pat, who plays Joe, the father, and Alice, who plays the mother's Kay, and they seemed to get along. They had a lot of chemistry, and they did, I think, throughout the film. I mean, Joe and Sarah are at times hysterical and at times combative,
And
I guess is the right word.
contentious and heartwarming all at the same time. Yeah.
Daphne, what with such a short production period for a film like this, how did you get your cast to develop that family chemistry amongst one another?
It's got nothing to do with me except like Brian and Richard Linton, who plays sort of the nemesis in the film, is the with the British accent. I've known them for years. They've been in other sort of experimental films that I had done before, many years ago, like 15 years ago. So we were very lucky that they agreed. In fact, Richard was on before COVID during because we shot Loca Connie 5 years ago in the concert scene, so we didn't have the actors yet. So that was really interesting to try to mix them together in a scene 5 years later. Thank God Richard kept his shirt from that shoot. We were able to actually match stuff in the edit to make it look like we were shooting it at the same time. So that's movie magic for us there. And so a lot of the secondary actors had known each other from the Philadelphia area, the tri-state area. Brian and Richard have both been in a lot of television and a lot of theater. And I think really the chemistry was just Pat is so loving. I've known Pat for years. He's
Mhm.
actually Diane Harry's husband, our casting director's husband, and a acting coach and teacher in the Philadelphia area. And he's been in so many movies. He's such a warm person. I don't think you can be near him or around him. He's got, I know it's not good to do cultural kind of pointing or generalization, but he is just such a warm leprechaun in his own right, and he knows it, and so loving. And I think that shined when he and Teri got together immediately, and she was very warm with him. They just had such chemistry, and everybody just kind of liked each other a lot. They were also appreciative that Teri came to Delaware and wanted to do the film with them. And I think that developed that chemistry in a short time. Just very professional, very kind people that we had in our film.
I think everyone is wonderful in this film. So, well, I've taken a lot of your time already. Do you have next projects lined up for yourselves after, Relative Control comes out digitally pretty soon? Charlene,
Yeah, this
is it?
Friday comes out, drops on
Yeah.
this Friday. We're so excited.
Charlene, let's start with you. You're not going to take another 10 years to develop a script or you're just enjoying
Actually,
retirement.
I have written three other scripts, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. Daphna and I have talked about perhaps collaborating again on one of them, and you know, we'll see. We'll see how we do with this one. I'm hopeful that it will be well received. As they say, so far experience has been that it was, at least with the audiences that saw it, and if it is, and then I think maybe we'll take another stab at it.
Excellent. How about for you, Daphne?
I'm actually in the edit suite. My editors right now, it's been a couple of weeks of grant writing and finishing sizzles for a project I've been working on for 7 years called Alexander McClay Williams, the youngest African American to be executed in Pennsylvania, and how the case is trying to be overturned and going to federal court now for reparations. It's quite interesting. You can find more about that at AMWDoc, Alexander McClay William Doc.com. And so we're in the process now of finishing production on that in the next year. And there's a lot of reenactments from the 1930s. So I'm sort of combining both my skills for both documentary and directing on this one.
You're well-rounded. And before before I let you both go, I have a very important question because I was wondering while watching this film. Where is Sissy this entire time? Because you never showed her throughout the entire film.
Well, I think Sissy represents the sibling that is often there in the family who just doesn't help out. And that can be like Sissy, who doesn't even show up, or someone who is there periodically, or someone who's there all the time but still doesn't contribute. We were talking about the audience reception. Many people
Mhm.
found that dynamic was something that they had experienced as well. And so it's a tough balance, I guess, to pull. I mean, my brother was in Minneapolis, so he could not help, and so. But in other instances, there is the sibling there, and there's even in the best of circumstances, some kind of resentment usually occurs.
But then
So
also the
that's
parents, as you see, love their children equally, and that's a part of all the tension is you can't say anything, bad about the kids to your parents are going to be like, no, we love you all. So it's I think Starlene did that character really well. The missing character was perfect.
So true, so true. There's one in every family, and that's why relative control resonates with everyone because this is a typical family that anyone experienced through. So, Charlene, Daphna, thank you very much for
You get
carrying
it.
this
Appreciate it.
conversation, and everyone needs to buy digitally this Friday.
Yes. It's on
please.
any network you can think
Thank
of. You
you.
can rent it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gabe, for your time.
Thank you. Bye
Alone.
now.